Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report in Philadelphia, Wells Fargo Arena. Josue Pavon by my side, and let's talk Jaylen Brown again. You know, I love this topic.
Dude's
I
balling.
loved his postseason. 23 points, 5 assists tonight, 8 of 18. Not the most impressive shooting line in the world. You're seeing his role adjust slightly tonight, though, and I thought that was the biggest thing in the 14-4 run to start this game. He's on the ball, Jason Tatum's off the ball, and they're working through these great passing sequences to get Tatum spot up threes. Brown, throughout the flow of the game, able to get downhill and attack Joel Embiid. 2 key baskets going by him.
CLNS Media's Celtics coverage is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win.
It's everything I've wanted to see Brown do consistently. And this series started off with him taking just 10 shots. Now, in Game 3, he's on the ball, making stuff happen as a playmaker, which is something we saw in spurts from him last year. Is this something we're going to see going forward from him?
I think so, Bobby. He's constantly applying pressure, and I feel like that's what leads to easy looks, high percentage shots, and finding his teammates. But what he's doing on the defensive end of things is what's making the biggest impact in this series. It's almost like he took the James Harden 52-piece personally, and he's responded ever since. I mean, just taking away Harden's space, getting ahead of whoever's the ball handler for the 76ers in particular moments, but most of the time it's usually Harden, and I feel like he's done a really good job of making him uncomfortable and forcing him to just strictly be a passer, and you rarely seeing that fadeaway jump shot that we saw a lot of in Game 1. Now, having Joel Embiid back in the mix certainly changes that for James Harden, but it hasn't changed anything about Jaylen's approach, and especially in this game. I think what Jaylen already knew is those defensive stops, and when they're playing at a high level on defense, he knows that it makes an immediate impact on the offensive end. But now he's starting to see that firsthand, where his offense he's just thriving right now. He's locked in. He's in a zone where I feel like he's the best Celtics. He's the best player for the Celtics. He's been their most valuable guy throughout the first round, throughout the entire playoffs, and I just don't see any signs of him slowing down, especially right now in this matchup.
I'm glad you bring up the defense, too, because he did choose to take on that Harden matchup after Game 1. Harden shooting 18% since.
Ever since, yeah.
Non-factor. And this is what Brown's capable of. They play a switching style, a handoff defense, a team defense that I think underutilizes his one-on-one defensive skills.
Right.
And fortunately, and this is the adaptability of Joe Mazzulla, they're allowing him to take that one-on-one matchup, go over screens, fight through them, and take Brown out of these games, or Harden out of these games, rather. And that's crucial right now. And offensively, when they're getting those stops, it opens up for him to run. And there are only 2 players in transition better than him this year, and I think it's Giannis and LeBron. That element to their offense is something the Sixers can't stop. They were one of the worst transition defenses in the league.
Right, and I feel like with the help defense, it's just been really hard for them to find the 76ers, right, to find their offensive rhythm. Now, in Game 3, the first half, you could say that Philly was hanging around. Obviously, they had that lead for a little bit, and a lot of that had to do with just the fact that they were getting to the free throw line. I mean, you go 15 for 15 from the charity stripe. The Celtics, I want to say they attempted about 4. So, like, that differential made a huge difference for the Sixers. But the Celtics were able to capitalize in the second half when they were able to defend without fouling, and that's something Joe Mazzulla talked about. When I brought it up, after this game, these guys didn't get into that foul trouble where someone like Jaylen was forced to sit, or someone like Tatum was forced to sit, and that defensive energy is contagious. And I felt like it set the stage for someone like Tatum, obviously the team's leading scorer, the best scoring, option that this team has, for him to go off in those last 3 minutes and go out and outscore Philadelphia 76ers and just put that dagger in for a victory that puts them in, a 2-1 lead in this best-of-7 series.
And I asked Jaylen, does he want more ball time? Does he want this bigger responsibility in the offense? And he said, yeah. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I think that. I think as the playoffs go on, putting the ball in my hand and trusting I'm going to make the right play against the matchups that I have. Usually it was P.J. Tucker or Harden. Put him in space, I can get by him and make the right play at the rim. I think that creates open opportunities for our guys, and it creates open opportunities for our team. But if I'm just stuck stashed in the corner, I'm not doing anybody a service. For sure. Just being more aggressive, getting more involved, and I can create for others. Even just by getting to the paint, passing it out, that creates an advantage, and that opens up opportunities.
So this is the balance I'm looking for the Celtics to strike late in the season. Of course, you want the guards setting up these two primarily, and they did some of that late in this game. But does Tatum cede some of that ball time to Brown to let him get off the ball? And Brown, as he said in that answer there, confident that he can set other guys up. And that aggression, I think, flows into other guys getting open opportunities. Now, Brown shouldn't be the point guard of this team. He's one of the weaker ball handlers on it. But as Brown said there, don't just stash me in the corner. Take advantage of the threat I can be on the ball. And just that forcefulness. And I don't want to make this a Tatum-Brown thing, but I will to some degree, because Brown plays this forceful, aggressive, opportunistic style that I think sometimes Tatum's plodding, deliberate, and a little more slow-paced approach.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, in transition, that's where Jaylen shines, right? Open spaces, getting past people. So that gets him going, but also
you should have both.
In a half-court set. Well, you should have both, but I feel like the way Jaylen has mastered his handling skills, that's something that we don't talk about enough as well this season, right? I mean, last year, you weren't quite sure, because when he would find his rhythm, sometimes it would lead to turnovers, or he would, when he was in that spot where he was trying to set up other guys, he would make bad passes, or he would be out of position. He's corrected that part of his game in a big way this year, and to see it carry over in the postseason at this level is huge. I mean, it obviously gives the Celtics a whole lot of different options, but it gets him going. He's a constant scoring threat, and like I said, again, he's your most valuable player right now in the postseason. And with Marcus Smart not 100% on defense, and knowing the long run that they went through last year and how they were, let's face it, pretty much gassed in that last game against the Golden State Warriors, I think they've taken all of that into consideration. And Jaylen's just trying to make everything easier for his team, and obviously put his team in a position to win. And it just shows how mature he is, how much he's grown, honestly, just overall as a player.
6 straight games with at least 20 points for Brown going back to the Atlanta series. The assists starting to tick upward, and the defense as good as we've seen it all year. Huge game for Brown to take a 2-1 lead in this series. Crunch time brought some issues, and Al Horford masked them with a big 3 late in that game. We talked about that in our last video. Go check that out on Celtics All Access. CLNS Media for all the post-game reaction tonight from Brown, Tatum, and Horford. And, of course, Grant taking the curb stomp.
Yeah, man. Yeah, poor Grant, man. But you know what, man? That's gonna make him tougher, man. He's gonna come back with a bigger chip on his shoulder,
and some sort of mask,
and some sort of or mouthpiece rather.
Mouthpiece.
And we'll see how long he wears that. But maybe he'll go into like Jaylen mode, right? The way Jaylen went into his mask, his mask Jaylen effect, which I think is a big reason why he hasn't played without it.
And
that and his mother. His mom told him she wants him to wear it too, so I guess I should say that.
Grand and honorable mention tonight. I'm sure we'll hear more from him later this postseason. Josue, Pavon, Bobby Manning, Celtics, an impressive grind-out 114-102 win over the Sixers here. Puts them up in this series, going into Game 4 on Sunday, which we'll be back for. Stay tuned for practice coverage tomorrow. Josue, Pavon, Bobby Manning. This has been The Garden Report.
The Garden Report is brought to you by BetterHelp. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/garden today to get 10% off your first month. This edition of the Garden Report is also brought to you by Athletic Greens. Visit athleticgreens.com/garden for a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase.